Yeah,
All right,
I just keep
hello
it steady on
everybody.
the
Welcome
magic.
back to the
Do my thing, I'm
Uprooted
healing, it's
podcast.
fantastic.
We're gonna just have
If I
some
fall,
good
rise
conversation
automatic.
about some good
You ain't
topics
on
with
that,
good
you
people.
know. I'm the one raise myself like a tree from the roots. West side girl, cause she lit in the coast. East side girl when she speaks to the roots. Stay 100 cause she on with the truth. Been there on struggle, know that it pass. Only going up, yeah, the pain don't last. Ooh, take off. Ooh, take off. Ooh, take off. This is take off. Shorty like Brandy, fight like Monica. What you know about her? Baby girl rising, wet at the top. Shaking the world, don't expect her to stop. Purpose so great, she get what she got. Follow her step, cause she following God. What you need more, got a heart full of gold. Even at times when it's raining and cold. Ooh, she bout take off. Ooh, she bout.
Hey, it's your girl Hannah, aka Rita. Welcome back to the Uprooted podcast. Today I have a very special guest coming on for Black Women Wednesday. My big sis, mentor, inspiration. I mean, there's so many words to describe this woman. Millete will be joining, and I'm so excited. But also, she doesn't really be on IG, so let's hope that she gets this right today. So y'all bear with me. Hey y'all, welcome. How is your guys' Wednesday? I hope you are enjoying. Hey. Yo, comment. He is feeding my soul right now. I don't know why I'm in like a comment mode today. So y'all gonna be with me. Let me see if I can request her. Go. Let me see. And everyone, send this to your friends. See if I can get Millete on here. Yo, how's your guys' Wednesday? I don't know about y'all. I'm still recovering from this protest. I've been on a high, okay? I've been on a natural high for the last couple of weeks. Zuzu, you in here, girl? You did your thing in New York. You did. Follow up from that. Her thing in New York, okay? Like, shout out to the East Coast. Let's see if we can get Millete. In the meantime, let me tell y'all a little about her though. She's dope. I want her to share her story when she gets on here, but just a little kind of intro to who Millete is. She is from the Denver community, and she owns Whittier Cafe. Some of you guys probably have heard us talk about it before, but Millete's so dope. So this cafe is kind of like in the historic area in Denver where it used to be, I think it's called 5 Points, and it just kind of became this like social justice like hotbed where like a lot of people would come and they'd make posters and protest and just be really part of the social justice movement. And it's just kind of cool to see that was owned by a Habesha woman, you know, a Tigrayan woman, a diaspora that's just like me, that's just like the rest of us. And she was able to like, you know, turn her business into something more than just, you know, a cafe. And I appreciate the hell out of this woman. So I just am so excited. But also because she's a businesswoman, she might not be on time. Hey Ruth. Yes. Hey Ruth, you want to come on while I wait for her and explain to the people kind of more about the cafe? Let me not put you on the spot like that, but yeah, Millete is so dope. So that cafe is amazing. Hey. And the cafe that I worked at, that I was managing with Haywan, Endless Grind Coffee, we definitely were inspired by her. She played a big part in like mentoring us. I kind of just jumped in one summer and I was like, hey Fria, do you need help? I'll like do this part-time. And she was like, actually I'm going to ID. Okay, Ruth, no worries. Hopefully Millete gets on here. But anyways, yeah, so Fria is like, oh, I'm gonna go to ID. And I was just like, okay, so who's running the shop? And she had like left it to a couple of workers. And then she was like, actually, you can do it. And I was like, what? You want me to just run a shop? I was like, I've never like just completely been responsible for a business, you know? And I was like, let me tell you, the Frier and Millete School of Entrepreneurship is just dive in. And like it's not as hard as it looks, and they're very like encouraging, like, no, you can do this, like, don't even worry about it, I got you. You need something, call me. And they actually like will give you the answer real quick right away, and they're kind of hustlers and they're on the move. So I feel like she might be at the shop now, but I'm gonna message her again. But if anyone else also knows Millete, if you guys want to reach out to her for me. If not, I'm gonna spend this time edifying her, because that woman is amazing and deserves all her flowers. But essentially, yeah, so not only does she do that, she is also, I don't know if she's the founder, but I know that she is responsible for the like Taste of Africa festival that happens in Denver. And man, it's such a good time, y'all. Like, so she is also like curating culture and building bridges and building like opportunities for us to collaborate across the diaspora. So like, you know, we had, we still technically have Taste of Ethiopia, but she did Taste of Africa, which all the different vendors, all the different African vendors in the city came, and we had arts and speakers and you know, just everything. Like, it was just such a good vibe, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. And I'm so incredibly like proud to say that I know this woman, that she does these things for us in this community. And it's so inspiring because hey, it's just so inspiring, you know what I mean? Like, to see somebody that's like you, that that came up with the same story, the same background, and like you see what they're able to accomplish, you know. And I'm over here giving Milete's whole story because she ain't even here, but I know there's so many gaps that she can fill in. She's amazing. And so a little bit more about her is basically she does that. She also does real estate. Like this, like there's, I don't think there's any like question I can answer, like ask her, and like she wouldn't have an answer for me, if that makes sense. So like Millete, do you know how to do this? Yes, actually I know somebody. Like, she will like connect you, she will put you in place. Like, if there's a tangible ask, she got it. Hey y'all. And she's just so dope. Like, I'm just like, how do you do all that? So she's doing real estate. She's, you know, really like living the values and goals, right, that we all want to have about generational wealth, and this idea that like, yo, you can own property, you should own property, and you should like really build your community that way. And like, to be a Black woman in that space, in real estate, you know, like, and killing it, and just, you know, being amazing and buying properties left and right, like in terms of like really trying to revitalize the community, and be very unapologetic about it is pretty badass. So like, what you guys see on screen with Millete is what you get behind screen. She's not two different people at all. Like, she's just dope, and she's super sweet, like, at the same time. Like, she gonna collect you and gather you, but like, she doesn't even need her like to raise her voice to do it. Like, you're just kind of sitting there like, I know you just told me about myself, but like, I don't feel bad. Like, if that makes sense to anybody. So you're just like, damn, like, she's dope. So that's really why I want to have her on today, just so that you guys can hear a little bit more about her story. I know that she's, you know, you guys probably see her on TMH, or you see her at the protests, or you see her in like all these different spaces doing a lot of work. She does a lot of behind the scenes work too. And I wanted people to just really get to know her as a human being, because she's also just amazing. And like, if you ever just get the chance to just sit and just talk to her, like, you're just like, I feel like I'm always getting gamed up by her, and I'm just trying to pass that along to the next one, because she's so inspiring. And I wanted to, you know, kind of introduce you guys to someone that does this. Hey, Abba. Yes, you heard her speak on Clubhouse. Yeah, Millete is, she's so dope. Okay, until I figure out what's going on with her, I'm gonna just keep talking about her. I hope you guys are okay with that. Because she's just amazing, and I'm okay doing this. I'm okay doing it with her, without her, because I'm just like, she's gonna get her flowers today, period. Okay. I always say, how am I doing? Listen, I don't know if y'all could tell, but I'm still on a natural high. I am just like, I finally feel like I figured out what I need to do, and I have like a clear path of what's going on in my life. So that's what I'm doing today. Hey y'all, hey. And I'm just, I'm over here glowing, you feel me? Like, you just gotta feel your own energy sometimes. And like right now, my energy is radiating high. I'm very positive. And I don't want any negativity near me. So like, if you reached out to me and I haven't really been responsive, it's because I've been in this zone. So it hasn't been too many of y'all. So hopefully nobody's waiting on me for anything. But yeah. Okay, so some of y'all said I heard her speak on Clubhouse. You love hearing about inspirational and amazing Tagada women. Listen, yes, Hafte, you get it. That's what I'm doing here. Yes, she is super amazing. Hi, Dawite. Okay, my cousin in here, y'all. Literally, so Millete is just dope. So let me tell you a little bit more about how I got to know her. I was gonna tell her and give her flowers, but she could watch this later too, unless she just happens to join at some point here. But so essentially, like I was telling y'all, I started working at Frie's coffee shop, Endless Grind Coffee, while I was in grad school, because I wanted something that was close by, that was local, that I could like kind of utilize my degree. I got my degree in organizational leadership, or my master's degree in organizational leadership, and I was like, yo, I will use this as my internship, and I will just like do all my projects around this coffee shop. And then when I started meeting them, they introduced me to Millete, and it was like very much like Millete had inspired that whole coffee shop, and that's where they kind of learned the idea and like were inspired to do it as well. And then she was so dope because like you will see in like, okay, those of you who work in corporate or work in different industry, y'all know nobody's trying to help you recreate the same business. They don't want you to become their competition. And Millete she doesn't operate that way. Like, she has a cafe, and if you tell her you want a cafe, she gonna tell you exactly how to do it. Okay, she's gonna tell you, you need to find this kind of property. Here's your options with this. You can get this type of equipment and put this, and this together. Here's my distributor. And she will give you the blueprint because she wants you to succeed. And so when I was like stepping into manage, I had like managed in very small capacity, and understood how to be a barista, but to be actually responsible for everything in that shop was a lot. So when I had a question about anything, I would just ask Millete, and she was just so reassuring and like, nah, you got it, you're doing great, like, you know what I mean. And if we have events, she would, oh, sorry y'all. Okay, we had a little bit of technical difficulties there. Millete called, so she about to join in like 2 seconds. What's up? Sorry, y'all. You guys could keep sending this back to your friends. My bad. I was in the middle of giving her flowers, and she called, and I was like, okay, well, come on, so I could give you your flowers on here. Okay, let me see if she was able to join. Let's see. Millete Hafte.
Finally!
Yes. I had a feeling you were in the car. I was like, she's driving.
You know me. I swear I was early trying to figure that out. I'm like, okay, come on, get it together. I'm here.
No, you're good. I told the audience, I was like, yo, Millete is a boss. Okay, she made moves. She got the coffee shop. She got the real estate going. I didn't even get to the part to tell them you're a whole mom. So I was like,
a whole
mom with whole children and a whole advocate and social activist. So I was like, y'all, she a busy lady, but I'm gonna make this happen.
No, this was important to me. I was like early, all logged into Instagram, and then I couldn't figure it out. So, I'm a little bit of an old head. So, I try to pick which ones I'm going to use, and everyone's like, you have to do Instagram. And I'm like, and now here you got me here. So Yes.
Bro, we have been getting you onto every app.
Everything. Yep.
We're like your PR
I
team.
only did Twitter. I only did Twitter because of the genocide. That's what got me in, you know, and now I'm like, where have I been?
This is what
This
I'm
is
telling
amazing.
you. We're like, yes, we're like pulling you in because we know you're amazing, but the rest of the world doesn't know you're amazing. And I feel like we're trying to be your PR team here, and so we need you to work with us.
I love you. Yes, thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. You got to be that. Pull me in. Be the bridge.
Listen, and so everyone in the comments has been loving you. I have been edifying you for the last, like, I don't know, 10 minutes or whatever it was. And I was just like, listen, Millete, like, I was telling them the story of how I met you when Freya was like, here, Ruta, you can run the coffee shop. And I was like, how do you do that?
Right. Exactly. Yes.
I was just telling them, I was like, Millete's the most reassuring person. She was like, you got it. It's easy. You just do this.
And you did, though. You had it down, and you helped grow the coffee shop quite a bit. So you did it.
Listen,
you did it, right?
I was not playing games. I said, they trust me. I'm not letting them down. I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. And I really believed it.
Yep. It's amazing what you do if you believe in yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's incredible the things that you can accomplish, you know, stuff that you're like, how did I do that? You know,
listen,
after the fact.
I'm telling you, I don't even think I was consciously thinking during that time. It was kind of just go, 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 go. Like, if you think too long about it, you're going to get scared, you know?
Yep. That's true. That's true. I love how you have your buna.
Yeah, I was gonna say full disclosure. I needed buna today, so I'm not gonna.
Yes. I love it. No, don't be.
Listen, my cousin the other day, she goes, "You crack me up when you just out of nowhere pull out your buna."
I love it.
It's the Habesha in me. I'm not new to this. Energy. I'm true to this. Like, this is my lifestyle.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
I just be telling them, and like I'm like, maybe I need to show y'all it more so you realize this is just who I am. So
absolutely. It's not a show. That's a daily thing for us. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. So explain to them Whittier, because I've been telling them when you run a cafe, coffee is your everyday life. Like, it's just there, you know?
Well, it was our everyday life before. I mean, so here's what I always tell people about. Okay, so first, Whittier Cafe. Whittier Cafe is a social justice cafe in the Whittier neighborhood, which is important because Whittier, that area used to be a part of 5 Points, and that was the only place African Americans could own property in Denver at one time. They were redlined to that area. They were segregated to that area. So now it's being gentrified, and unfortunately, African Americans are losing ground in that area. Like quickly, very quickly, and it's really unfortunate because they're beautiful homes and just really unique. And so being a black woman-owned business in that neighborhood is really powerful, especially for the community to see, because there's still, I don't know the exact number, but maybe like 20% of the community is still black. Yeah, which is shocking, right? Because it used to be 100% black owned. So Whittier Cafe plays a really important role in the history of that community, and also in trying to, encourage, you mentioned that I'm a realtor, but trying to like help African Americans especially regain their ownership in property and, that kind of thing. So, so we've been there 6 years. 6 years, and it's an African espresso bar, so all of our beans come from different African nations. I'm going to let you know that we decided last week that we're no longer carrying Ethiopian beans because of the genocide that's happening in Tigray. So we're putting posters up and making people aware of that, because it's our most popular bean and we sell a lot of it, and it's a premium bean. But to me, it's just not worth it. I don't want to put any more money into the Ethiopian government. So we're doing that, and then also going to try and encourage other coffee shops to stop carrying Ethiopian beans and to post the sign about the Tigray genocide, just so that there's awareness that's raised every day. So that's Whittier Cafe in a nutshell. But as far as coffee, I always tell people, man, making coffee is like almost like a rites of passage for us in East Africa. And we grow up learning to make coffee as young girls, and the whole thing, and not like turn the pot on kind of hot.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like roasting beans over, you know, brewing in our jebena, and the little sini cup that you have in your hand, you know, drinking from
Listen,
those cups. Just the
this is the only way to
whole
do it.
process. Exactly. That's it. That's it. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And for a mother to teach a daughter, or a sister to teach a sister, you know what I mean? It's a beautiful cultural thing that we take for granted, actually. And it's a really beautiful process that we, you know, we do every day in our homes, every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also, I say, the reason why our families are so tight. I mean, when you have to spend an hour and a half sitting together,
Yes.
making coffee and talking to each other and passing popcorn or food or whatever you're eating, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You're building bonds in that process. And so it's a beautiful part of our culture.
It is. You know, like you can interview yourself, honestly, because like you be talking. I'm like, yes, like I don't even need to ask the question. You got it. Like, this is great. It's beautiful because I've been explaining. So you know, I was home for a couple days in Denver, and you know, Flora and them came over, and I was like, you guys want buna? I feel like I should make you guys some buna. Like, you know, it's just like culturally in me, and everyone laughs at me, and I'm like, yo, if I'm the only one that keeps this tradition alive for the next generation, I will take that role happily. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. We take those beautiful parts of our culture for granted. We really do. And we're lucky that we have those, you know, that we have those traditions. So we got to make sure that we pass it on and keep teaching our children, and teaching them young. It's not, you don't learn to make this when you're an adult. Like that's not how it is back home. You know what I mean? They like 6 and 7 years old, and they're making bomb ass boon.
Listen.
You know what I mean?
No,
I
you
say
can
that
say
on
that
Insta.
on here. Listen, we don't have censorship.
I don't want to get censored on here, you know.
They are good, and like it's therapeutic. So what I've also been trying to really express to people is like that process. They're like, how do you have so much patience? And I was like, no, you need that process to learn patience, to actually learn to enjoy the reward. Because like because coffee is like in this country is so commercial, and it's so like if I go to like certain cafes, I'm like, this is dessert to me. I'm like, oh, I need a coffee after my like, it's like a dessert because like of all the stuff they do to it. You actually roast the coffee and you see the process of like from green to dark, and you choose your roast. You don't want it dark, don't go dark. Like when you have kind of you know, control over that, and then you get to brew it, and you have to sit there and like you're understanding like, okay, I put water in this, or I do this, it's going to be stronger, it's going to be lighter, and you get to experiment, and it takes a level of like creativity too, and like patience, and it teaches you how to enjoy and be present in the moment. And it's like, no, it's an art. It's so good. Like
it really is an art. Like everyone's coffee tastes different.
Very different.
You know what I mean? Like try and like emulate someone like your mama or whoever, and it's never gonna happen, right? You can get close and learn technique and stuff like that, but it's always gonna be different because there's just an element of love and like personal touch that you put into it that can't be replicated. You know what I mean? And so it's just so beautiful. And then also the symbolism in it. Like people always ask me, is the coffee ceremony, is that like, is it religious? And I always say it's not religious, but there are all these things that tie you, that connect to like spirituality, you know, like for instance, 3 rounds and how that relates to the Trinity, the use of incense and how we use incense
in the church,
in our church. So, you know, there's a lot, or even like breaking bread together and sharing and eating from the same bowl, like that popcorn gets passed around and we all put our hands in that same bowl. So there's so much like connection and community and you know, and just like that reaches into your spirituality in that process. So it's not a religious thing, but there's a lot that like touches your soul through that process, you know. So I love it. I love the coffee ceremony. I love
it with my whole soul. And it's like I'm now like, I have finally reached the achievement of my life where the aunties trust me to make buna for them. And like, I don't think people understand, okay? They will not let you touch their buna. Like, they're like, oh, they're like, no, Whittier, no. And it's like, you know, like my aunt, AK co-signing for me. She goes, no, let me that. She knows how to do it, guys. She knows how to do it.
I still get nervous when I make the buna. I'm like, man, I don't want to make a mess. I don't want it to spill when my mom is watching. You know what I mean? Because they're like,
I
you know, watching you
know.
so closely. You just gotta be perfect, like.
They are not
But I love it. You know,
playing.
our moms and our aunts talk. They talk stuff anyway.
Oh,
Even if you do a beautiful job, they're
yes,
gonna
they do.
find the thing. You know what I mean?
They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to do it.
I love it.
Oh, hey
I love
and Flora are in here loving this. Like, I'm telling you,
it.
so I have a Gemini tatted on my hip. I'm very,
Oh,
yes, I'm very serious about this, you know, this tradition. And
yeah, yeah.
my mom, she'll be like, it's good, but she won't, like, she'll be trying to, like, hold back.
I
And
know. Oh
I know
my
you're
God.
proud. It's okay. Just say that.
You know, there was a book. It was I think it was written by a Chinese woman. It's called Tiger Mom, I think, where they talk about like the strictness of a Chinese mother and what she expects of you. I'm like, man, you have
Mm-hmm.
nothing on the Tigrayan mom, man. She is, woo-wee.
Listen.
I mean, and they just want the best for you and the best of you. But oh my God, you talk about being criticized left and right.
Listen, and so I had to break that down to my mom. And I was like, Mommy, listen, I know you're trying to do it this way, but this is what you're making me feel. And I had to really break that down. And then I understood for them, it's like, no, I don't want you to ever believe that you can't accomplish this. So it's like, it's
Yeah,
just that their
absolutely.
language is harsh, right? Like
Yeah,
they don't
absolutely.
get that. And so now she has a
Absolutely.
softer approach where she's like, "Rute,
Oh,
she's like, Zagwana? What? Like,
they give you the compliment before the insult now.
yes,
That's good.
you know, I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, Ma, we get the criticism at home, and me and you could have that tough conversation. But if you keep doing this in front of the aunties, I'm gonna fight back. Stop doing that.
That's so funny. That's so funny. I love it though. I love our moms. They are something else. They are something else. They're so strong. They're
Very.
so strong.
It's scary.
You know?
It's scary. I'm like,
Woo.
Mom, how? Like, I just look at her. I'm
Yeah.
like, how? And then, have you done this
Yeah.
lately? Because now that you're a mom too, it's like you just. I feel like there's like a flip. You know, like there's like, yo, I have to protect them, so I have to be good. I have to be strong, so I have to protect them.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think it's just something innate in our spirit. Tigrayan women are strong. I'm talking about like unbreakable strong. Crazy things can happen and we are still standing and still like, you know what I mean? I think about my grandmother and how strong she is. And she was a businesswoman. First of all, most of our families are business people back home. You don't really go get a job.
Thank you.
I mean, like you create and it's amazing what they do. But my grandmother did a number of things. She had a beautiful garden in Rama, and so she sold fresh fruits and vegetables and that kind of thing. And then she expanded and she started selling like bubble gum and like all this random stuff. But she used to like travel because we're from Rama, but she would go from the border, and she had this whole business trade thing going. And that's my grandmother. Like she's up there in age, but she did this for so long and really took care of her household. She was the caretaker in the home. You know what I mean? Like she was the one. You might think that it's men running things in African societies, but nah, if you really pay attention, it's the women. It's the women who do it. So that's where I get my, like, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I know you are too, but like so many things that I've tried to create, and I'm like, oh, that's where I get it from. Like, you know.
It's them. Okay, so me and you, I think we don't know how to think small, right? Like, and it's like a blessing and a curse. Because we're just like, damn, there's so many things I want to do. And so I was explaining to them earlier, I don't know if Ava's still in here. Salon was like, Ruta, you're really the blueprint. And then Haywan said, Free says that she loves us.
Oh, we love you too.
We love you, Free. Free is of the same flock, okay? She's gonna have to come on here too.
Yes, she is.
She's
yes,
fierce.
she is.
Fierce.
She is something else. She had her dream and she is building it, and just again that beautiful Tigrayan woman, man, it's beautiful.
It's so great. And I'm like, and I keep trying to, and so this is why I really do this segment, right? Is because I need us to remember who we are. Like we have never been that way, right? Like, and so okay, perfect. I was still in here. So I was telling them before you got on here, I was like, Millete is also an example of how to uplift others and like understand that by helping someone else, you're not hurting yourself, you're not creating competition. Everyone can succeed and they should succeed, you know? And so I was here, she was talking about that. And I was like, Millete's the one that like our coffee shop was like completely like inspired and replicated off of her. And I was like, if you ask her, she'll tell you, find a property in this area. Here's the things that you need, like here, you know, and kind of just really just like, let's give that information to you because I want you to be successful too. And so I wanted to edify you because not everybody will do that.
Thank you.
Not everyone will do
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot to me. And I do believe that. I think you grow the pie. It's not a zero-sum game. Like some people take that approach like, well, if she does what I do, then it's going to take away from me. And so I got to protect mine and I got to make sure I don't believe it works like that. I think that we can grow you know what I mean? We can grow it. There's enough for everybody. There is enough for everybody. So thank you for saying that. I think we can definitely, do more sharing within our community. I think that we don't do enough of it sometimes, but I'm seeing more and more. I'm seeing more connection. Oh, now I'm reading the comments. I wasn't earlier, but I love you, Haywan. I see you.
Yes, she's so cute. I'm telling you, and it's like so inspiring. And I remember I came to you, and I'm like, I feel like every time I come to you, you're on the next project. I'm like, this one doesn't stop. I was like, what?
Yes, girl. I was like,
with the real estate,
all over
holding it down, and it's like, I'm telling people. And what I really want to like show them is like there are extraordinary people next to you, like next to you. Stop thinking you can't do this. Like we're all the same and we get it done. And it's like I'm not any different than you. I'm just like overly determined. Like, you know what I mean? Like
no, you guys are amazing. Like I'm watching this next generation of Tigrayan women. You are amazing. Like the way you guys can tie the old culture and the new culture and you know what I mean, and still be true to your roots and where you come from it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. I can't wait to see what you all create and where you take things because it's amazing.
It is literally what I've been so people were like, you know, you look very happy. Yes, because that's what I'm seeing. Like there's a lot of like hurt and trauma. There's always been though, right? So like if you've been in this social activist space, if you've been even socially conscious in this world, you know that there is a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, a lot of whatever. And if you're gonna be in this space, you have to operate in positivity and inspiration and like being the difference because you can't do it being a victim the whole time. Like it will literally drown you. It will drown you.
That's true. There was it's kind of corny, but we grew up watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I don't know if y'all did. Y'all probably passed that. It was probably gone by that point. But
I got the tail end of it. Yes.
Okay, good. There was something he used to say about like in painful situations, look for the helpers. You know, and I never as corny as his show was, and it was still the concepts were good, but I never forgot that. And so anytime like what's happening in Tigray right now is so painful, and it's, you know, I mean, we're all experiencing secondary trauma as a result of it, whether we realize it or not. But in those situations, I keep thinking to myself, like, look for the helpers. Who's doing the work? Who's making this better? And that could be everything from what you guys are doing on like a digital front and with Twitter campaigns and all the stuff that you're doing, to people who are doing the calls. And, you know, just when I went to Sudan, the doctors on the ground who are doing, they're refugees themselves and they didn't even get to experience that. They turned into helpers like immediately without being able to process their trauma, which I think is going to be a problem at some point. But for now, that's what they're doing. And you know, they're not just doctors, they're also making sure the kids have food and the right kind of food, and that they have toys to play with, and that the schools are getting started, and they're doing so much. But it was a source of inspiration for me, and I hang on to that, and I still talk to those doctors like at least once a week to see what's going on, how I can help. And it's like a little silver lining in what's happening. You know what I mean? I think when you get into trauma, into traumatic situations, you are right. You get to choose, like, I don't even want to say play a victim, because they are victims.
No,
what's happened to them is really awful. But are you going to live in that level and on that? Or are you going to like turn it into like, how do I rise above what's happening right now? You know what I mean? And I think, you know, you see it all, and I don't blame anyone for where they end up in that, but it is really beautiful to see like this like strong spirits come, you know, rise out of that and end up leading people out. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love our people.
It's amazing. I'm like, y'all are my biggest headache and my biggest inspiration at the same time.
I know. I say that all the time. I'm like, I love y'all and I can't stand y'all. Like, hard-headed and so passionate and determined at the same time. I'm like, oh my God.
It's just, and I tweeted, I was talking to a friend, I tweeted this other day, because I realized I tweet a lot of things that people don't have context for. And I was just like, we are so strong that we can like get in our own way and we can like hurt ourselves, because like we get stubborn, we get like like all of that. Like pride is great, but sometimes it gets in the way of like even having a conversation.
Oh yeah.
And it's just one of those things that I want like us to learn how to harness, and like, okay, you need that, but direct it at the right thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Use it and like
absolutely
in that direction. And so
absolutely and be willing to be malleable and change a little bit. We're not we're like you said, and myself, let me just talk about myself. I am hard-headed. You know what I mean? I am so stubborn, and I'm like, it's got to be this way, and it is what it is. But I'm getting better, though. Like, you know, I'm getting better as I get older, especially with kids.
Yeah.
Because your kids will teach you about patience. Oh, yeah. They'll teach you about, like, changing your ways. You know what I mean? Like, I could be as stubborn as could be, but my kids are almost more stubborn than me. Mm-hmm. And it scares me sometimes. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, we're going to adjust a little bit. Like, okay, you don't want to eat that, or you don't want to go there, or you don't want to wear that. Like, it's the little things. But I'm seeing, like, okay, let me chill. It's okay. It's okay to change course a little bit. You know what I mean?
No, and I feel like
that's important in business too.
It is. And that's what I was going to say. I was like, I feel like because I see you and I see Friye and I see how you guys balance like being a mother and being in those spaces. And then I always tell Friye, like whenever she gets mad at the kids, I'm like, they are you. You are them. Like, exactly.
So exactly.
Like, girl. And so I be telling my mom that too. And then because one of my I'm in a sorority, and so the woman, like my pledge educator, my pledge mom, she taught me that. She was like, you know, the kids come out worse than you. Like, so whatever you give to your parents is what you get back. And when I tell you, I didn't need to learn that lesson. I said, click, okay, mom, I love you so much. I
love it.
I'm not doing this. I refuse.
I love it.
If I imagine a little, like, that's what I do. I'm like, imagine a little me, and with my mouth. Oh.
I know. Yeah, I know. I tell my mom all the time, too. I'm like, dang, mom, was I like that? She's like, work. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I love it. But a lot of that has served us well too. You know what I mean? Like it's made us stronger in our principles. Yeah. It's made us stronger. Like when our parents, you know, our parents came to this country and they really tried to succeed, but it didn't work for them. For many of them, it didn't work. Some of them it did. But like for my father who passed away, God, it's been 12 years now, I think, since he passed away. And he was, thank you, and he was incredible, but he did everything he could in America, but America never worked for him. Mm-hmm. He struggled. You know what I mean? He worked 3 and 4 jobs. He worked as a janitor. He painted houses. He did carpentry work. I mean, he did so many things. And it was like that American dream was always like right out of reach for him. He couldn't quite get it, but he brought it close enough for us to grab it. You know what I mean? And so I respect that fighting spirit of our parents, because it may not have always worked for them, but it made it so that it worked for us. Yes. You know what I mean? And so we have a big responsibility not to forget where we came from and what our obligations are to our families, including extended family. This whole thing about like just your nucleus family, that's a Western thing. That's not how we operate. You know what I mean? And your neighbor's kid is your kid, and the whole village thing is real. It's not, that's not a story African fairy tale or folk tale or whatever. No, it's real, you know.
That's how we
it comes with a lot of responsibility.
It does. And so what I've done, because the way that my anxiety plays tricks on me is that like when I think of it as a responsibility, I feel pressure, and then I get scared of failure. So like that's how my anxiety works. I don't know if that's the same for everyone, but my anxiety will be kicking me in the butt. Like, and that's why I said that summer was like, I told them, I was like, okay, the Friye and Millete crash course to business is just do it.
Do it. Figure it out as you go.
Just go.
That's right. You know
and,
what? Yep.
yeah,
Go ahead.
that's it, right? So just go. And I was like, but they're always there to catch you, so it's okay for you to go, because even if you mess up, they're not mad at you. They're like, it's okay, it happens, and then they move on. So that was like really powerful for me to see, to be like, okay, you know what? I'm making this bigger than it needs to be. Let me just, you know, start doing this, start doing that, whatever, and it's gonna work itself out. And so I had to do it that way, because the way my anxiety works is I would have stopped, right? Like I would have stopped, I would have never started. So it's stressful.
Girl, let me tell you, we came from nothing in terms of, we came as refugees.
Yeah.
So we were, like my family in particular, we were refugees. We were sponsored by a church. So when you have lost everything from a physical perspective, you know what I mean? From a consumer perspective or whatever, when you have nothing, what you got to lose? You know what I mean? Like, so we get to a certain spot and then bet the house or whatever. What are we going to go back to where we were at? Well, we already know how to live like that. That's not scary.
See?
You know what I mean?
So that's what I've been explaining to people. And so like now that I feel like I'm finally old enough and I've seen enough that I understand. Right. So I'm like, okay, I understand why you did it that way, because you didn't have what I have. And what I have is the education that you forced me to get so that I know how to operate in these spaces. So now it's like, okay, now how do I turn around and make sure that everyone else can do that too? So like, that's what Uprooted is for me. And it's like, no, I want this for all of you. And like, I'm going to show you, I will be your case study, not your role model. I'm going to be your case study of how to do this, because I will disappoint you over and over again. So don't do that to yourself. Right. But if you use me as a case study and you watch me launch businesses and you watch, you know what I mean? That you just see me kind of go after, even though I'm scared, I'm still doing it. And hopefully that inspires y'all. And like, you did that for me. And I had to make sure I had you on here, because I was like, oh, you're gonna make me cry, and I was trying really hard not to cry today.
I love you.
Like, I just, this woman is amazing, and people need to understand that, like, you can do. You don't have to look so far sometimes, you know.
Right? No. First of all, I want to say something about one more thing about our parents is the one thing. What I love about them is they never taught us to like worship or long for material things. That doesn't mean you don't want nice things. I drive a nice car. You know what I mean? I'm not thinking about, you don't have to, you know, all that.
Listen.
I have a nice
yes,
and I'm not mad about that. But they taught us not to necessarily long for that. Like, think about what our parents always say. You have to go to school. You have to be a doctor. You know what I mean? Or like whatever it was like doctor, lawyer, engineer. Otherwise, it's not good enough. You know what I mean? And it was funny, but it pushed us, you know what I'm saying, to really value that investment in ourselves. Because what can no one take from you? Your knowledge and what you know. You know what I mean? Your integrity. Nobody can take that from you, no matter where you are, no matter what happens. You might bet the house and lose the house, but you still have a brain that you can use to like develop the next idea. You know what I mean? When you look at these ultra successful people, if you only knew how many times they failed, you know what I mean? I mean, we can't necessarily compare ourselves to them, because a lot of them have big safety nets and you know what I mean? And like $1 million loans from their parents or whatever. Like Trump said, it was a $1 million loan. I'm like, what? Like, from your dad? Dang, you know? I'm like, Africans inherit poverty. We do not inherit wealth. Let me tell you right now.
We do not. We do not.
But the beauty of coming from that is you're not afraid to go back to that. There is nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with where we came from. You know what I mean? My grandma always says too, she's like, oh, how do you say baita? Like my baita, the floor. Like that's my home. Like I want to go home to my baita. Like she does not care. All this luxury and all this whatever. I mean, it's great, especially being here in America or whatever, but it's nothing. It is nothing. It is not what defines us. So it gives you the room to be able to like try things and fail. It's all good. You know what I mean?
Yes. And I do a lot of manifesting and stuff, right? And I said that. And so what I do is a lot of self-healing work, and I'm going to start like launching that and teaching other people how to do it. And for me is reframing. So what you did is like, that was something like, we laugh at our pain too, right? But that's something that like grounds you, right? Like it grounds you. And it's like, instead of being afraid of failure, it's like, no, like we've already been to the bottom. There is nowhere but up. There's literally nowhere but up. this is the worst of it.
Yep.
Right. And so like if
Yep.
you can reframe your brain around that, then it's like you
Yep.
you can get over your fears. So like I've been able to fight anxiety a lot better because I shifted that perspective of like, no, this is not just a responsibility. This is a privilege and like this is an opportunity, and I get to do what I want with it. And if I don't succeed, it's because I don't succeed. Like, because I'm already at the bottom. So like, there's nothing for me here. Like, there's nothing for me here.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And being at the bottom to me is not, another way to reframe that too, to me is not a bad thing. Like if you, what does that mean, being at the bottom? You know what I mean? Like we have to also define that, and what does that mean? Because some people take it as, oh my God, I have nothing. Like if I have no material things, I'm at the bottom. I don't know if that's the right way to define it. So it's up to everyone to define that for themselves. You know what I mean? But for me personally, especially now with what's happening in Tigray, my whole, you talk about shifting your frame of mind. Like my truth around money, for example, I never loved money, but I had these aspirations of like what I had to make and what I had to do with that money. And my whole mentality has shifted. Like I see my ability and earning potential right now is to be able to go back and help my people in Tigray. You know what I mean? And rebuild and help women and help. I don't care. Like I don't have the same aspirations with the money that I earn now than I did before this war started. So I can't wait for us to get to that point. Obviously, we're trying to stop that war right now, but I can't wait, because if we all have that mentality, and I think a lot of us do, we will rebuild that state, hopefully country, in a short amount of time. You know what I mean? In a really short amount of time. And we won't be the first nation to have done that. I mean, you look at the Japanese, what they've done from like natural disaster. They've had to rebuild Japan so many times. When you go there, you feel like you're in a futuristic world. It's incredible. You know what I mean? So I'm like,
we could be
watch what Tigray looks like.
We could be Wakanda.
Wakanda straight up. Straight up Wakanda.
I'm trying to tell
straight
you.
Wakanda.
That's what I'm planning in my mind. I don't know what y'all planning. But I'm planning Tigray as Wakanda. So like my centering and grounding force is that what you're talking about, is that's what's centering me, is like, I guess for me, the instinct was, how do we preserve what's going to be left? Right.
Yes.
Because I knew like for me, 2020 taught me I am not in control. Right.
That's right.
Not in control at all. There were things that we could have prevented, but again, I can't go backwards in time. Right. So I started thinking about this conflict and the war, and just like reframing just how I understood the world. And I was like, there wasn't enough there. Like we couldn't prevent them like anything from here. Right. But if we help them get stronger there, then they can save themselves and they can protect themselves. Cause I'm tired of this whole savior shit. Like we're not saviors. Right. Like, we just need to give them what we have, and they would be a lot better. Right. So that's what I've been thinking of. Like, okay, I can't stop the conflict, but how do I, one, preserve the culture, right? And then two, keep people motivated and inspired to go back and rebuild, because like it's so hard to like pick yourself back up. And the women, and that's why I said women to the front, because the women that could meet, like we are the ones that are resilient time and time again. We are the carriers of the culture. We are the carriers of everything. So why not us? Why?
Women think 7 generations out. We don't think about just our like immediate children or just ourselves. We think way ahead. So that I 100% agree. And that's why you invest in women. And that's what I want to focus on when we do go back and rebuild, is like, how do we invest in women? And shout out to our Tagaru brothers though, for real, because I've noticed this whole movement is being led by women, and with a blessing of men. Not that you need a blessing of men, but I see that, you know what I mean? Like I see them pushing and supporting, and like, you know, like for example, and carrying. I saw this protest in, I went to the protest in DC, New York, and I saw that women were at the front of everything. And then our Tagaru brothers were there. They showed up in the middle, in the back, playing that supportive role. That was really impressive to me. That was really impressive, because in this day and age, that's got to be hard to do. Just to be like, you got it, cool, we got your back. You know what I mean? Like that's I think in general hard for men to do, but especially at this moment in time when we're all so angry and frustrated with what's happening, to see that, like to see it visually was really impactful for me. And I'm sure others saw and felt that as well. Because I remember at the front, Yeah, there were all these women like leading the chants and, you know, doing like most of it. And I'm like, huh. And so at some point I said, let me go down a little bit more. And I walked, and then toward the middle, there was another chant being led by men in the middle, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so they let the women lead, and then they were somewhere over there. So I just thought that was beautiful. But I agree with you. It's going to be women
Yeah.
who lead this change. Not to mention, it's women who are bearing the brunt of what's happening right now.
Yes.
Right now. Now, our men are also, the boys and men are also being attacked in incredibly executed in unfair ways. But what's happening with women's bodies right now,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't have to tell you, it's devastating. It
Definitely.
isn't, it's so devastating, and it's intentional and it's systematic.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot to repair, not just physical stuff,
Yeah.
but in terms of us and our inside,
And
you
it's
know.
generational, right? Because so what I've also been trying to teach people, right, is that back to, you said something earlier, this the secondhand trauma that you're feeling.
Yeah.
So I'm not physically being hurt right now, but my body still feels physical pain. So like the reason why I'm like, because everyone's like, why do you so focus on all this healing? You want everyone to heal? Because you have to, like, in order for you to be strong enough to do what we're doing, right? Because people at us and they're like, how do you do this? You're going hard, you're doing this. And I was like, my secret, it's not a secret, is that I've done my healing, and I've done a lot of that work, and I've done a lot of taking those layers off of the past war and the past trauma, and like watching my mom. I got to watch my mom up close in her survival, right? And like understand how she did it. And now I'm in a position where I watched her, I'm experiencing the secondhand, but the difference between me and my mom is I've had a lot of space to do healing and to do therapy and to do self-work and to understand what happens to a woman's body, because we carry it too. Our moms pass it down to us, whether they intend to or not. So now I'm like, I can tell, like, you know, there's certain things that like I don't walk up behind, like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's certain things that have always been triggering for me that didn't have an explanation, right? And then the environment I grew up in was also not safe. So even though we weren't, you know, we weren't in Addi, Oakland in the 90s was not safe. Okay, let me just be very, very clear. And so once you learn that, the blessing that I have right now, and I heard this before, a blessing is not a blessing until shared, is that I've already survived and I've already healed. So I know that we are capable of healing and surviving this generation. It just is up to what you were saying, the men, to understand that we know what we need. Like, we know what we need. You can lead from the back, right? Like you can lead from the back and push forward.
That's a thing. Absolutely.
We're not trying to take you out of the picture. You know what I'm saying?
No, because we need each other.
Need you,
absolutely. Because
we need you to respect what we're saying we need. And like,
absolutely.
I hate that, right? I hate that mansplaining, that whatever. And so like I get this, oh, you're an angry feminist. No. I'm an angry person and I happen to be a feminist. Right? Like,
Exactly.
What do you mean?
Absolutely. But you're right about like gene trauma, and I don't know a lot about it, but I've read articles here and there or whatever about how that trauma gets passed down generations, and you may not even realize it. Like literally. Like they've studied, you know, how your DNA and things, how things change based on trauma and how it's carried through and stuff. So, you know, there's someone much smarter than me who can explain that and how all of that looks and stuff. But it is very real that we have to deal with that and heal before we end up carrying that way out. You know what I mean? Several generations out. So we definitely do. But you're better than me because you said you've done healing work. I don't know. I'm becoming, I feel like, battle hardened. You know what I mean? And so the reason I'm able to like keep moving forward is because I'm kind of compartmentalizing my trauma right now. You know what I mean? And I'm okay with that though, because that's called a coping mechanism.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The coping mechanism. So as long as you're aware of what you're doing, you know what I mean? Because you're going to have to, I'm going to have to address it at some point. All of that is going to have to get addressed, but I'm not ready. You know what I mean? I'm not ready to address it.
And that's called self-awareness. And that's the first key. So people are always asking me, how do you get to the, you know, how do you do what you do? And I was like, well, first, before you want to jump 10 steps to where I'm like actively doing it in the moment, you got to figure out and you got to be self-aware of like what your habits are and what your coping mechanisms are. And then we can kind of reframe and reshift them to better and healthier ones. But I can't blame you for how you're surviving right now, right? Like,
That's right.
and as long as you're aware that what you're doing is survival and not thriving, then that's okay.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely, absolutely. And that's where I'm at. And I'm okay with
Hey,
it.
listen.
I'm going to heal with my
Yes,
people. Once we stop this
we
war,
are gonna,
though, I got to just put it in a box.
yes, we're going to do collective healing. This is already therapeutic, right? So even if you take an hour out of your day, if you just take time to like not think about trauma for even just a little bit, just keep giving yourself mental breaks. So people are like confused, like, you know, I was like, no, you told me this. Because I remember when I was telling you about what I wanted to do for the coffee shop and how I wanted it to be a social enterprise. I mean, I have coffee. It's not a shop, but I have coffee with me. And, you know, this is still a social enterprise, so it looks different than when I intended. But the goal was also always to uplift these marginalized communities so they can do collective healing, so that they can, you know, live the lives they want to live. And this is still therapy. Like, it's still activism. And you were like, because I was like, I'm not an activist. And you were like, activism has many forms. And I was like, okay. And so this whole time I was thinking that I was like, this is activism. Like, this is
it really is.
Activism, because it feels like a lot of work. So.
Yep, absolutely. And that's the other thing too about activism. People think that it's also like you take a vow of poverty because you decided to be an activist. No, that's not what it means. I'm not saying you profit on your community or whatever, you know what I mean? But it's possible to do good and still make money in the process. Do you know what I mean? The problem is that we've accepted the opposite for too long, that people create harm in communities and profit, and we're like, oh, well, whatever. You know what I mean? And I'm like, no, we can do good and still profit and feed our families and do well and, you know, have the nice things and still uplift our community. It's possible. So, and we see it all the time. And let's be honest, we see it with black women, you know what I mean? We are the leaders of this, and it will sometimes come at great personal sacrifice, but it's who we are. It's just in our natures.
Yeah. And my goal is for women to stop sacrificing. Like, we can negotiate, we can compromise on some stuff, but I'm done. I'm done with black women sacrificing for the betterment. Like my little, who I love and adore, I did an episode with her, and she was just like, I just want to like give black people stuff for free. Like, they just need nice things. Like, why can't we just have, like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, you can just tell, like, our hearts are always like thinking of our people like that, and we're just like, man, like, fuck, this world is trash. Like, I'm trying to like do something about it. And I love that you even brought that up, because there is a way, and that's why I wanted to highlight you, because what you're doing is social entrepreneurship. What I'm trying to do is social entrepreneurship. We can change, like, we can change that narrative. Like, and you don't have to be like, you also don't have to aspire to be rich. I want to change that narrative too. Like, it's okay to just be like, middle class is cool too. Like, if you don't want to be that like CEO, the head honcho, because listen, it's not fun being your own boss. Like, you actually have to manage yourself. Like, nobody's managing you.
That's hard. That's harder than managing somebody else sometimes.
That's easy. I know how to manage you. I haven't been taught how to manage myself. So listen, it's like people think it's so sexy and it's whatever. And it's like, there's sexy moments, okay? But there's a lot of it is just
there's freedom. There is a lot of freedom in being your own boss, having your own business, doing things your way. You know, you can buck the establishment and do what you want, that, you know, in a way that makes sense for you and your community and all of that stuff. But there is a burden to it. There's no off switch when you're an entrepreneur and you own your own. You know what I mean? So you got to find balance, and, you know, you have to figure out if it's for you. It's not for everyone. Some people need to be employees. And hopefully you know that, like, and it's okay to take a risk and figure it out in the process, as long as you're honest with yourself. You know what I mean? The other thing is, some people have great ideas, but they don't know how to run companies. So then you can be the brainchild, and you can hire somebody else to do that part for you. It's okay to not know how to do it all, you know, not know how to do everything. In fact, most of us don't know how to do everything. I have a coffee shop, and I have an employee who I'd rather have him make my coffee than me, because his coffee is so great. Like, he's so on. Do you know what I'm saying? So you just have to, you just got to be real about that kind of stuff. Somebody said, how did you start your business though? So I want to answer that question. So I'm for real a serial entrepreneur. I've done it all. Like, I think a lot of us, I've seen this a lot, especially recently, but I started like making t-shirts and thought, I know, I'll make these great t-shirts that talk about ID and all this other stuff. And that's how I'll, like, whatever, it'll be on the internet and I'll make all this money. It flopped. Okay. They were great shirts, but if it flopped, but that was like one of the first things that I tried to do. And I've done a number of different things. I tried to do an apparel company and sell like Ethiopian dresses, traditional dresses, like online, and then get them made. So that didn't work out. There's some people who figured it out way back before. I tried to do a delivery, Hiya.com, and it was like people could order stuff here during the holidays, and then we'll deliver the chicken or the goat in Adi. That never went anywhere. So, like, I've had all these different ideas. And then finally I just got to a point where I had to like come to Jesus and like figure out what I'm going to do with myself. But I was a journalist for a long time, and then I went back to school and got my business degree, and I'm so glad I did. I recommend getting your MBA to anybody who thinks they want to get into business, because you will learn so much. I always describe it as like, if you're walking around and you needed glasses and things are blurry, and then you finally get a pair of glasses and everything's really clear, that's what my MBA did for me. So it just really like made things clear to me, and it also showed me what I know how to do and what I like. Technology, that's not my thing. Like, I'm never going to be the technology person in any company or operation that I have, right? You saw it took me 15 minutes to get on Instagram, even though I was on it earlier. So it'll teach you a lot about yourself. But the coffee shop, I started, and the way I was able to start it is because we don't always have the financing, because we come from nothing in terms of financially, and so we don't always have the funds to get started. And so for me, it was what do they call it, bootstrap. It was bootstrap. So I got my real estate license accidentally. I didn't actually mean to get my real estate license, and I love it, and it's the main thing that I do right now. But I got my real estate license, and so I would sell a house, and instead of using that, the proceeds from that, my commission from that sale to like buy a nicer car or, buy a nicer house or shop or vacation or whatever, I dumped it into this coffee shop. And so I was literally, no joke, I would sell a house, dump it in the coffee shop, sell a house, dump it in the coffee shop. And little by little was able to like improve the space and equipment and hire more people and, do that kind of thing. And so I was lucky that I was able, like, I had that combination that I could figure out how to fund my business, because what most people do is go get a business loan. And that to me is really stressful, because we didn't grow up, like, in our culture, borrowing is so taboo. You know what I mean? And our parents will borrow money and they're like, I owe money. Like, they are nervous about it. You know what I mean? And I no longer have that hang up anymore, but I did for a long time. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want debt. I felt like it was the worst thing in the world, where there's good debt and bad debt, right? Like, you have to figure that out and understand how that works. But that's how I started the coffee shop. And for the first like 2 or 3 years, I really wondered why I did it. You know what I mean? I was like, this is awful in terms of like not making money, and I was tired of pumping money into it, and it was stressful because I'd have to run back and forth, like leave another job to go to the coffee shop, someone called in sick or something's broken, like it was a nightmare. But there was so much that I loved about it too. Like, we were very intentional about giving the coffee shop an identity and and giving it to community, that it ended up taking care of itself. You know what I mean? Now we're in a great place where I need to hire, we have a staff of 6 right now, and we need 2 more people full time. So like, it's doing really, really well, even better than I imagined after coming out of COVID.
Thank you. Out of COVID.
Yeah. So it's been amazing. I would just say, like, if you're gonna start a business, make sure it's something you're passionate about. Gotta have, like, there has to be something driving you more than just money, because wanting the money will make you quit because it won't come right away. You know what I mean? So you'll be like, this is a terrible idea, and you'll walk away from it before it can actually hit. You know what I mean? So it's got to be something that you're passionate about. The rest will fall into place.
It's insane. No, that yes. I don't know if I hope y'all took notes. I mean, run this back. I don't know.
This is a clinic right now. Take notes.
This is the school of Millete that I had, and she was like, well, you got to do this and that. And I was just like, okay, you know what? I said, you know what? I need to go do a little bit more research because I was like, I'm not really as clear as I thought I was. You know what I mean? So you listen, y'all.
Right.
Take notes. She's giving free gems. I want to be respectful of your time because I know you got to go back into something. I know you got to go back into something. So my last question that I like to ask my guests are, you know, what you're really in it already, but what is the legacy that you want to create and like leave behind?
Ooh, that's such a good question. Oh my God. You know, you would think that we would have a response for this because it's such an important question. I'll tell you this. My idea of like what a legacy is has shifted.
Okay.
I used to, when I thought of legacy before, it was always directly related to my children and family, or it was like, okay, my immediate community. Like I want to leave things better.
Yeah.
Like this is kind of gross, but I'm the kind of person, like if I go to use like a public restroom, I gotta clean the whole damn thing up. You know what I mean? Like I can't just use it and like leave it dirty the way that I found it. I gotta clean it all up for the next person. You know what I mean? Like that's like who I am as a person, which for better or worse. So I always operate in that way. Like, okay, I'm going into this situation. It could be a real estate transaction. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
I always want to leave that person or that situation better.
Yeah.
Even if I can't like maybe do everything I need to do in that situation, I want to at least leave it better. So I always, when I think of legacy, I always think of it in terms of like leaving everything and everyone that I interact with better. You know what I mean? But now, I mean, all of that is still true, but I think of it differently. Like I really feel like, and this is like really extreme, but I really feel like my life is going to shift toward Tigray in a way that I never imagined. And that, I mean, I don't want to say my whole life is going to be dedicated to like rebuilding Tigray and everything that was there, but I feel like that's where I want my legacy to be in terms of helping women rebuild, helping just everything, you know, that what's happening with children there. Children are angry. Many have lost their parents. Like, I just feel like my whole idea of like, okay, legacy is going to be much more direct. Do you know what I mean? So it's not just like, I just got to leave things better. It's going to be much more pointed in relation to Tigray. So that's kind of like a real vague way to answer your question.
No,
but,
listen, there's no right answer. It's just, sometimes it's for me to plant the seed because I handpick y'all, okay? Like
yes, you do.
I'm very intentional and I'm like very like, I need people who I know have inspired me, or like I'm just like, dude, that's too dope and somebody needs to hear your story, and like I'm very intentional about it. So do not like, listen, direct or not, like I know I already knew where your heart was, so I was more so like sometimes I want to, I don't know, I ask because I want you guys to pause and think of it too, and no one's really having you pause, and no one's really taking the time to be like, who's this human being, because your life is still happening. Like, we're doing a lot of work.
Yes. And I'm glad you said that, because when we think about our legacy, we tend to think of it in terms of money too, by the way. Most people think like, I'm gonna leave this money for somebody, or I'm gonna leave, like that's how we think of like in America, like legacy planning. People think of it in terms of financial stuff. No, I think we should all be thinking about what our legacy is, no matter where you are, regardless of whether you have children, regardless of like your financial situation or whatever. Like, we should all be asking ourselves that all the time. You know what I mean? What is our impact? It's basically impact. What is your impact? Like lasting impact, because people are going to die. We're all going to die and we don't know when. But what's your impact? How do you want people to remember you? You know what I mean? I think that's important. Someone asked a question I just want to answer. How long should I wait to decide if the business is not working? Such a good question. I'll say this. As long as it's something so being passionate about whatever you're doing is a double-edged sword, because number one, it can make you hold on to something that you should let go of. You know what I mean? And so it can be a problem. But the reason I say it has to be something you're passionate about is because it will take time to make money. So there's a fine balance there. But I would say the general rule is 3 years. If in 3 years you can't break even, something's wrong. But you should every year see a trajectory, like where you're losing less money. You know what I mean? But by year 3, you've got to be breaking even. You've got to be breaking even at that point.
Yeah, I would say that because you told me that. So I was like, yes. I was like, I remember this lesson very well. There's a term for it. I can't remember. There's like a buyer's term for it. Like, it's like people who are who trade, you know, who buy stocks or who do things and they hold on and they leave. There's like there's a concept of people who at some point when your investment is draining you completely, like you gotta like let go. And most people will try to hold on for way too long, and it's like no.
Yep.
So that's good. I love that. I hope that answered your guys' question. That also reminded me, I was like, yes, because I think a lot of people don't have this kind of conversation too, where like there's just business questions that they don't get. And so for people who don't have like the, you know, you can't go to, you know, a master's degree, or you have 3 kids running around and you can't find the time, whatever the thing is, I do want to work on that. So like Millete, I'll probably hit you up, is like I really do want to start doing more business courses for our community, so that like even just the general knowledge, just to get you guys started. And then you can, you know, get connected to these networks where they'll support you, and we'll, that's a goal of mine, and I can do that currently because that's part of my plan. And like I will tap in people like Millete and other business owners who like can kind of like bridge that gap. So
absolutely,
that's part of my legacy. You know, I was like, yes,
absolutely, and I support that. So you let me know.
I know. I'll be like, just show up and teach the class. I'm not even gonna give you anything else. So you're just gonna, here's the class, here's the outline. You got it. I believe it.
but there's power in like being a practitioner. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want you to run this back, run the first 10 minutes of this back, because I like edified you and I want you to still hear it. And what I like to end on is just to reaffirm and to revalidate that like you are very much on the trajectory and the path that you're supposed to be on, that like you've already inspired it. Like I really feel like the Tupac line of like, I might not be the one that, you know, makes the change, but I'm gonna inspire the one who did. And I feel like there's a sea of Denver girls that you've already like been a role model for, that we are like indebted and like in awe and like just love you so much. And we're like, this girl, like, listen, you can't tell me nothing.
Don't make me cry. Do not make me cry.
I'm good at it. I was like, listen, y'all not gonna tell me nothing, because if Millete could come in here and do, I was like, I can do it too. So I want you to really hear that, to have your flowers, to
thank you.
And I wanted you to have a one-on-one. I didn't want to put you in a group. I was like, no. People see her and she's dope and she's doing a lot of work, but not enough people realize like there's just a lot of heart and grit and like care and passion and still femininity and still softness, like that, like you don't lose that because you're like this fierce person in the outside world. Like you're still beautiful and like strong and sensitive and like all of those things that exist in one person, you know?
Thank you. You did it. I'm crying.
I know. Awesome said.
Thank you.
Is a true role model. Love how she protects and reps the Tigrayan community. So
thank you.
They was in here waiting, and everybody was in the comments like I was like, yes, like you a celebrity too, sis. Don't even think.
Well, I love you all. I'm really proud of you. I'm so proud of you and how you're using your platform, and all my Denver girls, all my Colorado girls, because some of you are in Aurora and all over the place. But someone gave us a flower. I love it. I love it. I'm proud of you all, and I'm so excited to see where this goes and you know what our next things are. But I got your back. I love you all, and I can't wait.
Yes.
I can't wait. We're just getting started.
Oh yeah, don't worry. I'm gonna tap right back in. I'm living as a nomad, but as soon as I'm back in Denver, I will tap back in with you, my love. Please give everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shoot, have a espresso for me.
Yes.
Or a smoothie. It's up to you. I don't really...
No, we got some boon. I can't wait. Come on back. We're about to have a whole boon. You gonna make it too. So you know the youngest has to make it. So I get to sit back now and watch.
Listen, I will come to Whittier and do the Sunday ceremony.
Yes.
Like,
come on.
Do it. I promise you. I love it so much.
Come on.
Love you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Love you too.
Everyone.
Thank you. Bye everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Bye y'all.